Everyone has heard it. Carry your cross. 3 words that sound straightforward until you actually try to live them. And if you are honest, one of 2 things has probably happened. Either you heard those words and concluded that your cross is your difficult marriage, your chronic illness, your financial struggle, your difficult season, and you have been gritting your teeth through it, calling it your cross, or you heard those words and thought they sounded too extreme, too costly, too much for an ordinary person living an ordinary life, and quietly decided they applied to someone else, someone more radical, someone more serious about their faith than you have managed to be. Here is what you need to hear today. Both of those responses miss what Jesus actually said. And that misunderstanding is not a small thing. Because a Christianity built on the wrong definition of the cross will either keep you passive in suffering you were never meant to simply endure, or comfortable in a faith that was never designed to be comfortable. Neither version produces the life Jesus described. And if you have been wondering why your faith feels like it is missing something vital, this message might be exactly where that answer begins. If that is you, then this message was made for you. Here is why this matters more than most Christians realize. Jesus did not whisper this command. He did not offer it as an optional upgrade for serious disciples. He gave it as a condition. Luke chapter 9 verse 23 records his exact words. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. 3 commands in one sentence. Deny yourself. Take up your cross. Follow me. And then that word that changes everything. Daily. A cross is not a season you survive and move past. It is a posture you maintain every single morning. And a faith that never costs you anything is not the faith Jesus described. It is something else wearing the right label. Here is what carrying your cross actually looks like today. First, carrying your cross is not enduring your circumstances. It is making a daily choice. This is the most common misunderstanding, and the one that does the most damage. When believers reduce the cross to their difficult circumstances, their hard marriage, their illness, their financial pressure, they turn a daily active choice into a passive resignation. And passive resignation produces bitterness, not transformation. It produces a person who is suffering but not growing, enduring but not becoming. Jesus did not carry his cross accidentally. He carried it deliberately. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed in Matthew chapter 26 verse 39. Not as I will, but as you will. That was the cross before the cross. The surrender before the suffering. The deliberate choice to lay down his own preference in favor of the Father's purpose. Carrying your cross today is not about what is happening to you. It is about what you are choosing in response to what is happening. It is the daily decision to say, not my will but yours, and then actually living like you meant it. Second, carrying your cross means choosing God's will over your own. In the ordinary moments, here is where most people expect a dramatic definition and receive something far more uncomfortable instead. Carrying your cross does not always look like public sacrifice or extraordinary suffering. Most of the time it looks like a Tuesday morning. It looks like staying in the hard conversation instead of walking out. Choosing honesty when a comfortable silence would be easier. Forgiving the person who has not asked for it and does not deserve it by any measure of fairness. Returning to prayer when your flesh has been winning for 3 days straight. Galatians chapter 2 verse 20 says, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Paul is not being poetic. He is describing a real and ongoing death. The death of the version of you that lives for comfort, approval, and the path of least resistance. And if we are being real about it, that death does not happen once in a dramatic moment. It happens in 100 small choices every single day where you choose His will over yours. That is what the cross looks like on an ordinary morning. Quiet, intentional, and more costly than it looks from the outside. Third, carrying your cross means dying to the version of yourself that lives for approval. This is the one most Christians are unwilling to go near. Because the need for approval is so deeply wired into human nature that most people have never questioned whether it belongs in a surrendered life. But the cross is specifically the place where that need goes to die. When you carry your cross, you stop building your identity on what people think of you. You stop editing your obedience based on who is watching. You stop measuring your spiritual life by external recognition and start measuring it by faithfulness in the places no one ever sees. Romans chapter 12 verse 2 says, Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Conforming to the pattern of this world is not just about obvious sin. It is about the quiet daily addiction to being seen, affirmed, and approved by people whose opinion was never supposed to determine your direction. Carrying your cross in this area means releasing that addiction specifically and choosing the audience of one over every other audience you have been performing for. Fourth, carrying your cross means loving people when it genuinely costs you something. Nobody wants to talk about this one because it is the most specific and the most uncomfortable. Jesus went to the cross for people who were crucifying him. And the call to carry your cross is a call to extend grace to people who do not deserve it, serve without recognition, and love without guarantee of return. Luke chapter 6 verse 27 does not soften this. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. That instruction only makes sense when you understand the cross. Because the cross was not efficient, it was not comfortable, and it was not fair. It was love at its most deliberate and its most costly. The difficult person in your life, the one who exhausts you, the one who has hurt you, the one who has never acknowledged what they cost you, is not an obstacle to your cross-bearing. They are one of the primary places where your cross-bearing becomes real. Every time you choose to love that person at personal cost, you are picking up the cross. And that is not weakness. That is the most courageous thing a human being can do. If this message is reaching something real in you right now, like this video so more people can find it. And drop this in the comments. Lord, I am ready to pick it up daily. Go ahead and write that. Then, keep watching, because what comes next is where it gets most personal. Fifth, carrying your cross is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of the only story worth living. Here is the reframe that ties everything together. Most people hear, carry your cross, and hear an ending. A limitation. A ceiling on how good life can be for someone who follows Jesus. But Jesus did not present the cross as the destination. He presented it as the path. And the path leads somewhere. John chapter 12 verse 24 says, "Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." The death is not the point. The fruit is the point. And the fruit only comes through the death. The version of you that refuses the cross remains alone, unchanged, unfruitful, and quietly wondering why the life you were promised never arrived. But the version of you that picks it up daily, that says not my will but yours in the ordinary moments, in the costly relationships, in the hidden faithful places, that version of you becomes someone God can move through the world with, not just blessed by God, a blessing that God carries into the lives of people who need what only a cross-bearing believer can offer. So what does this look like starting today? You stop asking whether your cross is the difficult circumstance you are already in, and you start asking what specific choice God is calling you to make today that your flesh does not want to make. You identify the one relationship where love has been costing you too much to keep giving, and you give it anyway. You find the one area where approval has been steering your decisions, and you release it specifically to God. You come back to the prayer. Jesus prayed in the garden, "Not my will but yours," and you mean it for the actual situation directly in front of you right now, not a general spiritual posture, the specific thing, today. Because that is what the cross looks like on a regular day. Not a grand gesture, not a dramatic sacrifice. One deliberate choice to lay down what you want in favor of what God has asked, and then another one tomorrow, and the one after that. Now the choice is in front of you, friend. A faith with no cross is a comfortable life with a Christian label attached to it. But a faith that embraces the cross daily is the only one that leads anywhere worth going. It leads through the death of the old self and into the resurrection of everything God designed you to become. The cross is not the heaviest thing you will ever carry. It is the only thing that makes everything else light. If today you are ready to stop avoiding the cross and start picking it up daily, drop this in the comments. Lord, not my will but yours. Today I choose to follow you. Let that be your declaration. And if this message spoke to something real in you, subscribe to Refresh Dome, because every message here is built to take you deeper into God's Word and closer to who He called you to be.